Hey guys, Dr. Joe Rangel, the bodybuilding PhD. So, we've been talking about how response over reaction is the most critical part of the three pillars of masculinity. And we've been talking about how it's so important that we're going to break it up into several videos. The last couple of videos, we've been talking about how anxiety and threat creates reactiveness in you. Today's video is actually helpful to men, to women, to anybody. I mean, the goal still here is to work on developing a masculine core. But truthfully, we're going to talk about anxiety and what the internet likes to call now overthinking, because every now and then the internet comes up with neat and cool terms for what psychology has known for a very long time. So anybody can benefit from what we're about to talk about today. But before we can manage our anxiety, we got to talk about what it is. And today I'm going to leave you with one tool to help you get on to that path. And then we're going to provide more tools as the series goes on. So here's the thing, okay? It doesn't matter if you are just a regular person and you get hit with some anxiety or overthinking, or you've got generalized anxiety disorder and you're like this all the time, or you've got PTSD and triggers cause the anxiety. Anxiety still functions the same way for everybody, okay? And here's how it works. Anxiety is made up of two components. It's made up of your thoughts and it's made up of your emotions. And those two are totally separate things. And author G.S. Youngblood, in his book, Masculine in Relationships and to a little less degree, Embodiment for Men, really covers this really well. I prefer his first work to the second work, and we'll get into why about that in a minute. But if you want to follow up on that, and women, it's you can follow up on it too, especially the anxiety part. But here's how this works. So a threat appears. Right? And we discussed in the last video, that threat can be an actual physical threat. That threat can be a perceived threat to your romance, to your love, to your financial status, to your social status, to your ego. What doesn't matter what the threat is. A threat appears. And if it's going to manifest into anxiety, what's going to happen is your brain is going to start to create a story, a narrative, we call it. And it's going to create this thought process, this story in your mind that is going to make whatever that threat is seem way worse than it is. So let me give you an example. So you're in a relationship and you send your lady a text message, an I love you, or maybe a spicy text message, right? And you can see, because we can all see now, when she has seen it, but she doesn't comment on it. If you have a secure attachment style, if you're not anxious attachment, if you don't have generalized anxiety disorder, and you're not prone to these anxious responses, what I'm about to say is going to sound completely nuts to you, okay? But if you're an overthinker, or you have anxiety, or you have generalized anxiety disorder, or you have PTSD, or you have an anxious attachment style, what I'm going to say is going to sound like gospel. Right? So you send this text message, it's a spicy text message, they don't respond. Right? You can see they saw it, but they don't respond. Reality? Probably they were busy. Probably they were in public and it wasn't the right time to respond to it. Probably a million different things. What do? You see that they saw it, you see they didn't respond, and your brain starts telling you a story. And that story is something to the effect of, oh my God, it was too much. I pushed too hard. They are offended. They don't really love me. They're not into me anymore, right? That sound familiar? Okay, here's another one. This is actually a really, really common example, because it doesn't have to be romance. You get called in your boss's office. You have no idea why you're getting called in your boss's office. If you have prone to anxiety response, what will happen is you'll be like, oh my God, I don't know why I'm getting called in my boss's office. Am I in trouble? Did I do something wrong? Am I going to get fired? What's happened? Am I getting pink slipped? What's going on? Anybody else in the world will be like, the hell's a boss want? Yeah, boss, what you need, right? But it's worse for people with an anxiety disorder because it's not just that. I like to call it going down the rabbit hole because it doesn't just go around in a circle. It starts to spiral down. Bear with me on this. And my anxiety people, chime in, man. Let me know if I'm right. It's not just, am I going to get fired? Am I going to lose my job? It's, oh my God, how am I going to pay rent? Oh my God, I'm going to be homeless. Oh my God, I'm not going to be able to pay my bills. I'm going to be living on the street. My life is over. My family and friends are going to think I'm a loser. And you just spiral down this rabbit hole, right? Off into Wonderland. Right. Anxiety starts with your cognition, your thoughts. And it starts from your brain telling you lies. Why are they lies? Well, because most of the time, the vast majority of the time, this worst case scenario that your brain creates for you, it's always worst case scenario. Your worst case scenario that your brain creates for you, it's not true. And my God, even if it is true, it's not as bad as your brain is making it out to be. I mean, you can concoct some pretty sick and masochistic shit, right? And you do. And you make yourself feel better about the fact that you do it by saying, well, I'm just trying to prepare for the worst case scenario. No, you're not preparing for anything. What you're really doing is you're forcing yourself to spiral and go down the rabbit hole. Then what happens is this spiraling going down the rabbit hole creates emotion in you, creates feelings. And these emotion and feelings manifest in both psychological and physical discomfort, right? Because you start to feel dread, you start to feel fear, maybe you feel anger, you feel like depression, you feel whatever you feel given the situation, and then it manifests physically. I'll give you an example from me, okay? So when I experience this type of anxiety, I feel a tightness in my chest right here. I can actually feel it, right? I get numb in the hands and feet, right? And it's incredibly uncomfortable. I don't like it, right? We don't like it. People don't like this. And we try and escape this. We do whatever we can to escape this terrible feeling that we've got and these horrible emotions and this circular thought. Here's the worst part, okay? This is the really crappy part about this whole thing. So you've got these thoughts, right? These what psychologists called rumination, what the internet calls overthinking. So you've got these thoughts going around in your head, right? And they're creating emotions, right? The problem is when you feel these emotions and you get the physical feelings and you get all the whatever that happens, it creates more thoughts. Because you start thinking about the pain that you're in and you think, oh my God, I'm in so much pain and it's because of this. And it spins you back around. And it becomes this self-feeding cycle where your thoughts create your emotions and your emotions create your thoughts. And you keep spinning around in a circle until you end up down at the bottom of the rabbit hole. From a masculinity point of view or a relationship point of view, what does that make you do? It makes you reach out to try and stop the anxiety. So what does that look like? It looks like 5,000 text messages to your partner. It looks like doing insane things like showing up at their house at 2 a.m., right? It looks like being needy. It looks like being clingy. Sometimes it looks like shutting down. It looks like passive aggressiveness. It looks like all this behavior that is completely reactive. And you can't do that. Okay? This isn't just for people with an actual anxiety disorder. This is just for men who are reactive. All of your activity is based on threat, which is based on anxiety. So what do we do? Well, so I said in a video a couple of videos ago, I was talking about Viktor Frankl and his really famous quote about how there's a space between stimulus and reaction, and in that space you have time to formulate your response. And that is so profound when it comes to this stuff. You need to create that space. You need to be able to step back and see what's happening. How do you do that? Well, one of the things that that author G.S. Youngblood does in his book Embodiment for Men is he talks about getting out of your head and into your body. And I really like that idea. It's why I use bodybuilding as a therapy technique. But it gets a little metaphysical with the whole thing. And my audience, you guys, I'm going to lose you guys if I start getting all woo-woo and hippie-like. We start talking about lighting candles and shit, right? Because who am I talking to here, right? I'm talking to men. I'm talking to cops, men and women, right? I'm talking to people who don't have time to find their enlightenment. And I'm not saying anything he said was wrong. I'm just saying that it's not necessarily the right fit for my audience. But here's what we can do. Here's the first step. And we'll get into more later, but here's the first step. When I was a rookie cop, I'm a rookie cop. I got subpoenaed to court for the very first time. I'd never been to court. By this time in my life right now, I've been to court 10,000 times, right? I've been to federal court. I've been homicide trials, capital punishment trial. But this was my first time going to court. And I was nervous and I was terrified and I didn't know what to expect. And I was talking to my training officer and I said to him, what do I do with this? And what do I have to do with that? And what if, and what if, and what if, and what if? And I kept what ifing the guy till I was talking about stuff that was not even going to happen. Like it would never happen in real life. And he looked at me finally and he goes, kid, actually he called me Slick. He goes, Slick, don't dream shit up. You got enough problems. Don't dream shit up. That's my mantra. Don't dream shit up. Maybe you've got your own, right? And it doesn't have to be friendly. It doesn't have to be nice. It can be, you're being a fucking weirdo. It can be, knock it off. I mean, if you want to have self-compassion, you can, but I respond well to the tough love thing. Don't dream shit up. So when I get triggered, and there's that word that gets misused on the internet all the time, but that's the actual purpose of it. When I get triggered into an anxiety response, my woman is upset at me, my woman is yelling at me, or something occurs during the day where I want to be reactive. When I feel the threat hit and the circular thinking starts and the tightness in the chest starts, I recognize immediately, okay, this is an anxiety response. I'm triggered. And I say to myself, I sometimes will say it out loud, don't dream shit up. I will literally say that to myself, don't dream shit up. And that will break me out of this so I can step back and realize, okay, look, I am thinking these thoughts. I am feeling these feelings. But maybe it's not real. Maybe this is my brain lying to me. And then I can start using the other tools that we're going to talk about later to try and deal with this, to separate the thoughts from the emotions. We'll get into it. But you need to find that, I hate to use the term, mantra of yours that signals you that this might be bullshit. And you're about to be reactive. And this only takes a split second. It only takes a split second. You can do this in a heartbeat. I had a situation where my woman saw something and she was like, wow. And she wouldn't talk to me for a second. Immediately, I took that as a personal attack on me. The right answer to that would have been, whoa, don't dream shit up. You don't know what's going on yet. Figure it out. Right? It only takes a second. You're going to create that Viktor Frankl space, right? That space between stimulus and reaction that you can create your response. And as you practice this and as you get better at it, you will be able to shorten that time to where it's milliseconds. Okay. So your mission for today, your goal for today is when the anxiety hits, when your woman is yelling at you, when your boss calls you into the office, when the citizen is yelling at you on the street, whatever's going on, and you start to spin out, take a step back in your brain and say, don't dream shit up, or whatever works for you, and separate yourself from the emotion. Separate yourself from those thoughts. I promise you, you will be able to manage them better. And then we'll move on from there. Okay, guys. Love you. Dr. Joe Rangel, bodybuilding PhD. More to come.